Marilyn,
Yes.
lights on or lights off?
Okay. That's a great way to start the podcast.
Yes,
Pero
indeed. What a great way to.
there's like a lump on my throat. Pero I hope my parents don't see this. But dahil open naman tayo dito and we're trying to normalize being open about, the talks of sex. I'm going to answer that. As an insecure person, I think I'm gonna have to say lights off. I'm not gonna explain na, pero lights off. Bakit? Why did you ask?
Wala naman. It's a very controversial topic nga naman. So let's skip that. But I also want to ask, have you watched at
Yeah.
least, Sex Education? A series, a
The
Netflix
series?
series.
Oh, I actually haven't. Pero I've heard of
Wow,
it.
what an uncultured, what a caveman, Marilyn.
Are you, s- are you sorry? I have a life, Charot. Pero yes,
Wow, so
I'm
you're
actually
saying I don't
aware.
have a life because I was able to watch
Parang
this
gan
series?
Yeah, parang gano'n na nga. Pero I'm actually looking forward to watching that because people have been reviewing about it and they say that it's good and it's very educational in
Yes,
a way
it
that
really
it
is.
helps the youth to open up
Mhm.
or correct wrong attitudes towards sex or something like that. So yes, I'm actually looking forward. But would you care to educate me about the series?
Actually, no, I am gonna wait for you na ma-watch mo siya. Pero I
Okay.
don't wanna reveal then spoilers na to our guests, to our listeners pala. Kasi baka naman,
Mm.
baka pag
Yeah.
magalit sila sa akin for that reason. Pero I'm just gonna say na true to its name, it really is about sex education. It's very educating and all
Mm.
those stuff. Very educational, and very open siya towards the topic
Yeah.
on sex. They say a safe space can be a place or a person, but it can also be a podcast. Hi, this is the voice of Felix.
This is Marilyn. We are your hosts, and you are listening to Youth Matters Podcast. Whoa.
So, on to the bigger
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, okay.
Actually,
Okay, I'm ready to
parang
hear it.
So I wanted to ask you, what's your stand on premarital sex?
That's actually a good question, and it is actually controversial if you ask certain people. Pero my thoughts on premarital sex, I'm gonna have to say that, do whatever you want. It is not my choice or it is not my
Parang your
decision
body,
to
your
make.
choice ba yung tinatry mo?
Yeah, yeah, your body, your choice. So it is not my decision to say that you should reserve sex for marriage or if you want to have sex before marriage, then go. Pero if you also want to reserve it, then that's also fine. As long as you know what you're doing, it is consensual and you are not a minor. So yeah, sure, go ahead. Use protection, I mean, if you want to, diba? What about you? What's your stand on this?
My personal stand about it is actually the same din naman in a way. Kasi parang
Mm.
the view about premarital sex is parang somehow getting old na din, di ba? Na we keep telling people na
Mm.
don't engage in premarital sex. Tapos, it
Yeah.
just ends there. So, parang you are leaving them with a lot of questions na they will
Mm-mm.
eventually seek to answer. Tapos, because
Yeah.
you are not open about it, they will seek for answers in an unsafe way. So, I really
Yes.
feel like parang in this age of information, we should really strive to, instead of telling people na, hey, don't engage in premarital sex, and that's just it, parang we should really start telling
Mm.
people na this is premarital sex. These are the possible effects that may come with it. These are the risks. Tapos, these are
Mm-mm.
what you can do in order to prevent those risks from becoming you, diba, in the future. So,
Right.
and we are just trying to be open naman dito, diba? We're just trying to engage in conversations, steer conversations about these topics. And we are just
Mm-mm.
youths trying to share our views. So, talking about sharing our views, I would like to take the honor to introduce our next guest speaker, who is willing to share her views naman on this topic. She is a fourth year BS Psychology student at Centro Escolar University Manila, an active youth leader in a Catholic organization known as the Light of Jesus since 2018. She also works as a freelance writer on the side. In senior high, she took up humanities and social sciences at Santa Isabel College, Manila, where she graduated with high honor, became a volunteer tutor at He Cares Foundation in Quezon City. Please welcome our dazzling young leader, Miss Jona May Teruel. Hello, Miss Jona.
Yay! Virtual clap.
Yay! Hello, Marilyn. Hello, Felix.
Hello,
Hi, good
welcome po to
Hi,
afternoon.
Youth
kamusta
Matters
kayo?
Podcast. We were supposed to
Yes.
ask that question po.
Grabe no, pinangunahan ko pa kayo. But yeah, I'm actually doing good and I feel honored to be a part of your
Oo.
project. Yeah. So thank you
We
for
also feel
inviting
honored to
me.
have you here. Oo.
Wow, thank you guys. And I'm so excited to discuss about this controversial topic with you. So
Mm-mm.
yeah.
We actually wanted to ask then Miss Jonna because in your bio note and according to our research, then you are in a Catholic organization known as the Light of Jesus, and in a country such as the Philippines, which is a Christian country, we have very conservative views regarding this topic. And knowing that you are in a very religious organization, then how open are you in
Yeah.
conversations like this?
To be honest, like I grew up in a conservative family. That's apart from being a member of the Catholic organization. But
Mhm.
so parang nung lumaki ako, I felt kind of awkward talking about this to my peers, ganon. But when I reached college, I became surrounded by friends who were so open about the topic. And that's when I gradually or slowly had a broader view about it. So I realized that it's not something to be like ashamed of. It's just that there has been a stereotype because nga of the background of our country. So ayun. For me kasi I stand my ground. So despite following the religious like beliefs, I also like try to weigh things. So it's not like I'm a one-sided person. So ganon.
Yeah, so parang in a way you're a very progressive person din po. Can we say that?
Yeah, you can say.
Manang, I also want to ask, if I may, how do the people around you view sex? Like, people in your church or at home, babe, like, how do they view sex?
At home, we don't talk about it like as a normal thing. Like we try to avoid the topic, or I think it would be rather right to say na we're shying away from the topic nga. Kasi like we have elders talaga who are so like religious, ganon, and they are so concerned about what other people would view about us, especially when we're involved in such act or whatsoever. Like, kunwari, merong, like, you know what I'm trying to say. And also, in our community, to be honest, hindi ko alam kasi like, we also don't try to talk about it. But, of course, sa may circle ko, like, in the youth circle, and of course, yung parang group ko talaga, we try to like carefully discuss it. Syempre, we're trying to follow then the
Proper
kasi
ethics naman.
yeah, and we're carrying the name of the community. So, ayun, we're trying to be careful. So, ayun.
Okay, so we would like to proceed na po to our formal questions po. So this is the first question that we actually want to ask. So as a psychology student, do you think sex education is essential?
It is. Because I see it as an avenue to put an end to the stigma which affects people's mental health. Kasi since this topic nga is very taboo in our country, instead of like empowering the youth or any individuals that like go through this natural thing, sometimes parang nafe-feel natin na it's mali. And when we think about that, like if we try to think about what others would think, we like we become anxious, we feel down, diba? And nandun yung parang fear of judgment to the point na, for example, kunwari, merong teenager who got pregnant at such a young age. Not only does that teenage girl like problematize about the future of her kid, parang iniisip niya rin na oh my gosh, I don't think people like will be sincere about being my friend anymore. I think they're gonna talk about me behind my back. Tapos, another thing is, I believe that sex education prevents the couple's anxieties on the possible outcome of their activity.
Yeah.
So, di ba nga? Yeah, di ba? Like, for example, like, this is very inclusive, okay? So, hindi lang siya boy to girl. Pwede rin namang, we're very inclusive here. So, like, if the couple do the deed, parang,
they're aware kung ano yung mga possible na mangyari out of what they're doing.
Yeah. Not unlike when they're not aware, syempre nga, di ba? Parang walang background, they're just experimenting. Parang baka magsisihan pa sila.
Yes.
And then that leads to like arguments, ganon. And my final point is like everyone, not only the youth, will become more empowered kasi nga they will no longer shy away from the topic. So that's the goal naman talaga eh. So once we stop shying away from the topic, we could like solve the problems like in a teenage pregnancy, HIV or AIDS, parang ganon. So like it's a stepping stone.
Yes.
So in connection Manang to educating the youth or everyone actually in the audience, the next question is increasing young people's knowledge and improving their attitudes related to sexual and reproductive health beneficial?
You know, Marilyn, kagabi I was trying to research about it, and this is from CNN. And you know that despite the RH law being implemented in 2012, the Philippines still had one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy in the Southeast Asia region.
Yes.
And, you know, noong 2019, merong 495 births a day. Grabe, no?
Grabe,
like,
yes.
those are from teenage girls. And that's before the pandemic. And of course, nung 2020, medyo nag-decrease yung rates. That's because, syempre, parang we're all quarantined. But after that, nung 2021 na naman, tumaas na naman siya. So,
kasi na-quarantine po sila. Parang ganun.
yeah, they're quarantined together.
We don't want this to make this as a joke, pero parang ganun yung nangyari. Na-quarantine sila in 2020. And it takes how many months to, you know, carry a baby. So, maybe it took them took 2022 to give birth.
yeah. And so by that, makikita mo talaga na parang we have to like increase talaga the knowledge of the youth. Kasi if we do so, we will be able to reduce talaga the teenage pregnancy rates. And but if we try to talk about it on a personal level, Marilyn and Felix, parang for me, the benefit talaga of sex education or being knowledgeable about this is individuals will be able to practice discipline. Kasi from their knowledge and awareness comes their discipline.
Yes.
Diba? Parang they would think what they're gonna do. They would think of the consequences of their actions before proceeding to it. So ayun.
Tapos it's important din na to both parties siya. Kasi for example, a boy and a girl, parang and a boy and girl engage in that, or actually any gender na mag-engage in that. What if yung isa lang yung very educated towards this topic, tapos the other one is not? So parang madadala pa din siya kasi his or her or their partner is not that educated in this topic. So diba, there are tapos aside
parang nawawala din yung
yung
like
effect niya,
in that
naka-cancel out.
Nawawala din yung consent if that ever happens. Like, if you're not educated, you're basically possibly gonna let other people do whatever they want to your body. So, like,
and you're gonna think it's fine. You're gonna think it's normal kasi it's not talked about in society.
Oh my gosh. Yes, sobrang tama. And I just wanna add na, like yung sinabi nga ni Marilyn na being, if isang party lang yung knowledgeable, like, they could use it to their own advantage. So, parang magagamit siya sa manipulation to their partner, especially if, kunwari, hindi sincere yung intentions mo.
Yes,
so, parang nakakaawa talaga yung other side. For example, let's just, like, can we, like, be transparent na lang talaga? Like, I wanna give an example.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sure, very sure.
Yeah, for example, merong, yung guy doesn't want to, like, use condom. Yeah. And they wanted to he wanted to like do the withdrawal method. So the girl naman, syempre kinakabahan siya, what if I get pregnant or whatsoever. So syempre the guy being more knowledgeable can like say things that could ease the girl's worries, diba? Oo. Tapos syempre magi-give in yung girl, and then pag kunwari meron ng fruit yung deed nila, what happens next? Di ba yung girl yung kawawa? So, I think lahat talaga dapat, everyone who engages in this activity should be knowledgeable. Hindi lang yung isang party. So, ayun.
Yes, and speaking din naman, parang in the same context as a member of the LGBTQ community myself, then this is actually very important, especially if you're growing up and you have gender identity crisis. So parang you just engage in all those parang mga stuff. For example, in men-to-men, which is very common yung transference of HIV diseases. So what if parang
Yes.
someone asks you na they're just curious, so gusto nilang gawin, tapos you don't have knowledge about it. Tapos the same thing
Mhm.
happens na now they won't use condom. Tapos so
Mm-mm.
if yung diba yung isang side na parang very innocent siya in this regard na they consented tapos in the end nakakuha siya ng HIV. So it's a very
Yeah.
sad thing then.
Mm-mm.
Totoo. So parang applicable talaga siya sa lahat ng couples regardless of the gender.
So on to our next question. We actually wanted to ask this. How is the situation of sex education in the Philippines? Or kasi parang growing up, you're now a fourth year college student po, majoring in psychology. So growing up from elementary to high school, kasi since you're older than us, can you really parang see a difference? Is there a change or is it still the same? Are we still very traditional towards this topic?
Felix, it's so hard to tell if we try to compare it to like the religion from the older generation. I mean, hindi naman ako like I'm not coming from the older generation, but like nung time namin, like it's so hard to tell kasi if there has been progress kasi hindi naman tayo active sa Facebook, wala naman masyadong engagement sa Facebook or parang like online information where we can gather thoughts ganon. So it's so hard to tell. But having observed it like as a young adult now, I have to be honest na parang I see the sex education or the status of the sex education in the country as complicated.
Mm-mm.
Kasi of course, di ba meron ng RH law which has been implemented in 2012 and nakalaad daw doon na public school curriculum for students ages 10 to 19 include like they're integrating sex education. But I also have to consider kasi na parang we have to consider that the Philippines is a Catholic country and sex as just sex is a taboo topic. So parang while we try to educate the children, parang mafe-feel mo talaga na merong restrictions di ba?
Yes.
Na parang we're not very open like ano ba yung gusto mong iparating? Just like one of you said a while ago na parang you're just gonna know about it naturally, di ba? As you grow older.
Yung curiosity nyo po, parang gagawin mo na lang siya in an unsafe way kasi you're not aware.
Oo.
Yeah.
There was actually worse yung knowing sex through porn or from your friends, which is not a good way to actually learn sex because
it actually devaluates the value of woman. Parang you're gonna think na ay hala, ganito pa yung commonly ginagawa. So what if you do this to a real person? So that will be really parang disrespectful.
Yeah, totoo.
Yeah, if you also learn it from your friends, parang there might be a possibility
of misconception.
Misconceptions and there might be possibilities of misinformation na baka mali-mali yung ituturo sa'yo or something like that and they make it a laughing stock, di ba?
Yeah, I get it. And I think personal views ko lang to, no, na I think what push the youth talaga to like rely on porn sites is that because the parents themselves are too awkward to talk about it, diba, to their children. And parang they keep on instilling in our minds na parang it's bad, diba? It's a bad thing, especially when you're young. Pero they forget na it's also bad to let us stay ignorant.
Uneducated about this. Naalala mo nung bata ka pa, once nagkikiss siya, hindi ka maglantaw. Parang ginaganan ka nila, di ba? Huwag ka manood, bad yan. So what? This is bad? So, di ba?
Totoo. Like, how did it become bad when it's just like, they're just acting, di ba? Parang, especially when you watch it on TVs, di ba? Parang, huwag ka manood. So, parang, sila mismo yung naglalagay ng mali siya.
Yes.
And the reason why we like, di ba, parang lagi tayo nagtatago, especially, di ba, kunwari, pag may boy, yun naman talaga yung reason, di ba? But parang pinagbabawalan tayo mag-boyfriend or
because
girlfriend. Yeah, kasi parang, they think na parang we're gonna do it, di ba? Pero like, if you just teach us how to be,
responsible,
then we would be, totoo. But, I can't blame them kasi syempre, siguro yung mga ganong mindset nila, they just inherited it from their elders then, from the older
Mm-mm.
generations. Yeah.
You did mention na parang when watching TV, they're gonna say, if people are having sex there, they're gonna say na, wag ka manood, that's bad, that's bad. Tapos what if along the
Mm-mm.
way you
Yeah.
discover that you were born because of sex? So like, ma,
Yes.
am I bad? Like, diba? Parang,
Yeah.
am I actually bad? What?
Yeah, totoo. Ewan ko if na-experience nyo rin to nung bata kayo. Like, you're so curious about how you entered this world, di ba?
Mhm.
Parang, saan po ako nanggaling? And then, your cousins, older cousins would tell you na parang, kasi yung parents mo, kinasal sila. And when they get married, they will begin to have you, di ba? But
Mm-mm.
how? So, parang, nung bata ako, parang like, I was like 11 maybe. 'Di ba 11, 'di ba dapat medyo mature ka na talaga. Pero
Opo.
like I was very innocent na parang iniisip ko parang pag kinasal ka, bigla na lang lolobo yung tiyan nung nanay.
Oo.
And
Oo.
'di ba? So
Ang funny
and
naman. So if
'di ba?
if pito kayo magkakapatid, oh my gosh, so they got married 7 times.
Totoo, 'di ba nakakatawa? And it's so silly. I don't get why they keep on like thinking that way.
Uh-huh.
Pero it's also you could say na your parents somehow failed to educate you about sex. Kasi I remember nung growing up when I think I saw this in the movies na nga. Pero I think
Mhm.
akala ko growing up, when you kiss, that's how you get pregnant. So like, I failed to understand how pregnancy works because of that, and no one taught me that because yun nga, you actually have to do sex para magka-baby. You
Pero
don't
isn't
just
it scary,
kiss.
Marilyn? Kasi I'm
Mm-mm.
actually asking this na kasi I am from Davao.
Mhm.
So we have a different culture from the people here in Iloilo. Tapos here in Iloilo, they are really fond of parang kissing each other as a way of parang greeting. Sa amin, hindi
Mm-mm.
siya ginagawa. So what did you think about that, Merlin, as a young kid? Oh my gosh, they're kissing. They're gonna have a baby. Did you?
Oh my
Actually,
God.
yes. Yung classmate ko pa nga, yung sa akin, nag-educate. Like she said, if magkikiss lang naman pala sila, then sana, pregnant na tayo or whatever. And we were so young back then when she said that. Like, my parents really failed to educate me about that. Na-learn ko pa sa classmate ko na kissing doesn't actually make you pregnant. So, wala lang. It was a funny story.
Yeah.
In terms naman po of other topics, kasi sex education,
Mhm.
we really want to recognize the importance of sex education. I think we can all agree with that, especially in the sense po na as a young kid and you're very innocent. I
Mhm.
actually want to share this experience kasi parang you get the feeling na it was instilled in you na talking about these topics is bad, na pag may sinamasabi ng penis or vagina, you're like, ew, don't do that. Oh my gosh, that's so disgusting. Parang ganyan
Yes.
yung
Yes.
sinasabi nila, di ba? So parang na-insist na, I am not supposed to talk about these things kasi disgusting. So, paano yung case natin about, for example, sexual molestation? Kasi I experienced this personally and I wasn't able to tell my parents about it kasi yun nga na parang it's bad, parang I think na it's bad. So parang ang awkward din para sa akin na sabihin siya to my guardians or to parents kasi baka pagalitan nila ako or think na I am being silly and stuff.
I can say na you're not alone. Like I think we all have gone through molestation, like especially in our childhood.
Mhm.
And we just keep it to ourselves. And of course, since bata pa tayo, hindi natin alam na it's like
Very
it's
bad.
bad. Now we were
Mhm.
just like so parang hindi natin alam na parang molestation pala yun, na bastos pala yun. But we know in ourselves, kahit bata pa tayo, na it felt wrong.
Mm-mm.
Diba? Parang it felt so uncomfortable. But at the same time, although hindi tayo aware na parang it's a sexual,
It's a sexual, parang it's a sexual molestation thing na it's very bad.
Yeah.
Mm.
Although hindi natin alam na ganun, medyo naiisip din natin, oh my gosh, if I try to tell this to like some other people in our home, parang I don't know what's gonna happen. Kasi I know that somehow it will cause chaos talaga.
Mhm.
No, so we keep it to ourselves. And syempre I cannot tell din naman na parang at such a young age like 6 or 7 we are not yet knowledgeable about sex, but we should have been taught na
Better.
dapat
Mm-mm.
na hindi walang dapat hawak sa private parts mo. But
Mm-mm.
that's something na hindi na nasabi sa atin, na tinuro sa atin, 'di ba? So parang we're like, oh my
Kasi
gosh, why are we
normalize din siya in an Asian household, in an Asian family.
totoo,
Especially
totoo. And that
towards parang men din.
yeah, and that's very problematic. Kasi ako feeling ko talaga like lahat tayo dumaan sa ganong phase. And we just try to keep it to ourselves kasi, di ba, when we try to like openly talk about it, and then when you talk about it, the person who did that to you is also there, di ba? Parang it feels awkward kasi parang to their knowledge, hindi mo alam na ginawa nila yon, di ba? Parang feel nila parang ignorante ka. But you grew up thinking na parang, oh my gosh, this person just harassed me. Di ba?
Yes.
So parang ang hirap, it's very hard and it's very problematic, and I hope we do something about this talaga.
Kasi it's parang this got heavy for a second, for a moment there. Kasi those experience really, no one should really experience them. Parang nobody has to experience them if possible, diba? If
Yes.
only we knew better, if only we were educated more in this topic.
Totoo.
Yes. So, jumping back to the topic kanina, there are many ways actually to avoid pregnancy, but there are also different views for this. So the next question is, what are your views on abstinence and use of contraceptives?
Marilyn, I am a firm believer that people have their own freedom. And while of course, diba, parang if I try to apply it in my being religious, parang, diba, we have free will, ganon. But we have to use it responsibly. But in the secular world, I believe na, syempre not everyone is religious, and we have to like accept that fact, diba? So it's just that you have to understand that everyone has their own freedom. So yung goal naman kasi natin is the same, diba? The goal of sex education is to like reduce teenage pregnancies, to avoid to reduce HIV and AIDS cases, and as well as like yung overpopulation. Yeah. So it all boils down to the same objective. So I don't think we should be imposing people on how they should do it. Diba? Kasi imposing can cause division. And if nagkaroon ng division, it would be harder to like fulfill or accomplish that goal.
Common goal.
Yeah. And we just have to understand na we live in a diverse society. So for as long as people are trying in their own ways to contribute to that common goal nga, we should respect that. So however they want to do it, just let them be.
Kasi it's important to acknowledge na some people would want to abstain, and that's all right. Kasi what if they're not ready to do it? And in this case, we have to highlight the importance talaga of giving consent, of saying yes, and really parang understanding what it means to say no.
Yeah. I also want to point that out na parang consent is very important talaga. Like, diba, yung pinag-usapan natin earlier that both parties should be knowledgeable and aware. Kasi if not, kawawa yung isang party, and then if that instance happens, kunwari, like in a day, maraming ganong instances na nangyayari. So parang it contributes to the growth of the crisis.
So I'm actually curious, yung RH law ba, has it really been passed or is it still pending?
I believe it has been passed noong 2012 during Aquino administration. So although yun talaga yung sobrang tagal bago ma-implement. Yeah.
I see. I think I understand why it took so long, because yung opposition from the RH law is coming from the church, because yun nga, they don't support RH, I mean premarital sex, and they actually want to it's against their views, and sex education somehow was affected because of that, because I think even parents think of sex education as also a taboo. Hindi siya, they think it's not for the benefit of their children to learn. Pero they think, siguro, like, sex education will teach children how to have sex or
Mm-mm.
what to do during
And
sex,
that's the
parang ganon. When
purpose.
in yeah,
Is
Yeah,
pero
really
yeah.
teaching
actually,
them how to have sex, pero in a
mm,
safe way, parang you know what are the
yes.
consequences that comes
Mm.
with it.
Yes, exactly. And that somehow, stops the development of the child to know the actual thing, or yes, it stops the child from learning sex.
Yeah.
So it's also really frustrating and it's sad because it also contributes to teenage pregnancy or early pregnancy. So yeah,
Yes.
somehow it's kind of their fault, in this. I mean, joke lang.
Yeah,
Joke
yeah,
lang.
yeah. I just wanna share, no, kasi nung elementary kasi ako, I came from, although hanggang high school naman, hanggang senior high naman. Nung elementary ako, nasa Catholic school ako dito sa Iloilo. And I'm not gonna mention the name na lang, 'di ba?
Yes po.
But by the time yung pinsan ko fourth year, and then sinama sila ng school to protest against the passing of the RH law. So parang
Mm.
by the time hindi ko pa talaga naintindihan kung ano 'yun. But I also believe na those students should have had their right to like agree or oppose to
Yes.
the law.
As is the right to
Um
protest.
yeah, ginawa siyang ano, like I believe ginawa siyang
Requirement.
mandatory ng school. Yeah, ginawa siyang
Mm.
requirement ng school. Syempre, you have to like ano din you have to follow it kasi if ayaw mong bumagsak, 'di ba? So
Mm-mm.
like
Mm.
that's kind of problematic din. Pero I
Mm-mm.
can't blame din naman the school kasi syempre they have to stand their ground too. It
Mm.
just so happened that we were under the school. We were under the regulations of the school. So
Yeah.
ayun.
This also really shows na the importance and parang the factor na dinadala-dala ng school ng mga ganito
Mm.
interviews na
Mm.
ine-impose na kasi parang what sort of happened is hindi siya na naging you protested because you wanted to protest, parang their
Yeah.
views was imposed on you, so parang
Mm.
maybe some of the students also questioned their own views or some weren't given the chance to even think, so they just thought na ay the RH bill is bad because the school says it's
Mm.
bad.
Tao.
Mm.
Yeah.
Pero actually, the prevention of RH law from becoming a law also stops people or women, actually, mostly women, from using contraceptives. So if you don't use contraceptives, there's a possibility that you will become pregnant if you don't want to, or there are like unwanted pregnancy, which also results to um unlicensed abortion, 'di ba? Like for
Yeah.
example,
Oo.
if you are a married couple na gid man and it's past the premarital sex na. Tapos hindi pa naging law yung RH law. Tapos there are no uses for contraceptives. Tapos may unwanted pregnancy. May batang, let's say, mamamatay, di ba? So,
Yeah.
these laws are really connected to many issues, not only for sex, but also abortion and other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Totoo.
Mm-mm.
And it's like a domino effect nga, 'di ba? Parang
Mm-mm.
we have
Yes.
to solve the root cause talaga. And I
Mm-mm.
believe it is through sex education nga talaga. Kasi if we don't solve this issue, yung issue of abortion will just continue, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
Parang
Yes.
that's how I see it.
So at this point, we have reached another segment in our podcast where we'll be reading queries from youth community submitted anonymously in our Google Forms. This is What Do You Think? So, again, we will be reading queries from the youth community, and this first entry is from the code name Adrian, and they said, I am underage po and gay. My boyfriend wants to have sex, and I think I am ready naman. Pero nahuya siya kuno magbakal condom for some reason, kaga suggest nga hindi na lang siya kuno maggamit. What are your thoughts on this, Manang?
Hi Adrian, thank you for the question. Um, you know, for me, 'di ba, sabi niya gay siya and
Mm-mm.
he or she, I believe she has a boyfriend. And um I think that they have to know that they are faithful to each other. And they have to
Mhm.
be open about their past. Kasi if they're considering not using condom, 'di ba? You have to be careful too kasi the consequences might be bad, 'di ba? So
Mm-mm.
what if the boyfriend doesn't want to use condoms pero meron palang madami pala siya naging sexual partners in the past.
Mm-mm.
And 'di ba? And what if may meron din kayong let's say parang history of HIV, sabihin natin, ganun. But I'm not like telling na meron talaga ha. I just want to like I believe na you guys have to be really transparent din sa isa't isa before you
Mm-mm.
consider things.
Yes.
And Adrian, being shy, you tell your boyfriend that being shy to buy condom is understandable, but you should also know that there is nothing to be ashamed about it.
Mm-mm.
And if you're not comfortable then na he doesn't want to use condom, you should really actually start saying no then. Because you should know your
Yes.
Mm-mm.
rights.
Yes.
Be an empowered youth,
Yes.
Adrian.
Mm-mm.
Everything should be mutual.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
So
Yes.
we have another query from codename Yellow Teletatis. They said, I grew up in a very conservative household. I don't know anything about sex or private organs or what boys do up until I was in senior high school or just high school. So when I remember that time when one of my relatives touched my boobs and thought it was formal, I trembled in disgust and fear because I just realized that it was very informal. Parang this is what we kept on telling then earlier, di ba? On
Mm-mm.
having the
Yeah,
lack of
yeah.
knowledge.
Totoo. Teletubbies, yellow Teletubbies, I'm so sorry that you experienced that. But I just wanna also tell you, like what I said to Felix, that you are not alone. Alam mo, ako
Mm-mm.
din, I'm not very knowledgeable about sex until I stepped in college and became surrounded with friends who were so open to educate me.
Mm-mm.
So, yun nga parang we can be victims of these things talaga. But, I hope na hindi mapunta sa vein yung mga traumas natin. Na I
Mm-mm.
hope it can still be a ground to improve the sex education in our country. So, ayun.
Parang as an empowered youth and as someone who experienced this, you will be able to parang share
Mm-mm.
information or tell or warn other people. So in that way, we are suggesting that you send this podcast to people who matter to you this episode so that they
Mm-mm.
will be aware. I am
Yeah,
parang
yeah.
nagpa-plug din
Nag-plug.
ako, di ba?
Ang
Nag-plug.
galing. Ang galing ng segue.
Okay. So, let me cut you there, Felix. Baka maging egocentric tayo dito. Pero anyway, this entry is from codename Hindi na iya Flower Girl. Okay. So, they said, feel ko bala, daw kalaw ay isang concept nga kung bata ka pa, ang tawag nila ya sa mga private organ, flower or junior. Tas daw ka open for misinterpretation kay what if big mahambal ang bata nga magadugo ang flower ni ate madelay pa ang response.
Yeah, I think that instance is not very new. Is not very new in our society.
Mm-mm.
'Di ba? Parang kahit naman tayo parang nung bata tayo hindi tinatawag na like we were not taught about what we should
Mm-mm.
call our private parts. Parang 'di ba yung vagina nga, we only learned about the term when we were in grade school, tama?
Mm-mm.
Diba? And penis. We parang laging cute terms ganon. So
Mm-mm.
'di ba parang nakita I believe parang since ginamit niya yung question na to, parang feel ko nakita niya yung sa Facebook na yung example about the cookie, yung
Mm-mm.
'di ba
Yung
parang
uncle.
yeah, the uncle touched the cookie of the girl. So parang
Oo.
nung sinabi sa teacher, parang hindi na get. So parang walang response nga. So that's parang that's the result of
Mm-mm.
shying away nga from the topic. And I just want to tell siguro the parents then who may be listening to this or future parents na yes, it feels awkward to say the right term and teach them to your child, but you just have to do it unless you want
Mm-mm.
to experience the same like circumstance the example in the Facebook did. And I just want to share then na I have a niece 3 years old na siya, and of course, I take care of her then if nandito siya sa bahay. And
Mm-mm.
ako din mismo, parang na-awkward. Parang I feel awkward kasi syempre nga, we were not taught or we were not trained to like, do it before, diba?
Mm-mm.
So parang ako na-awkward ako na parang, okay, Leah, that's your private part. It's called your vagina and you should not let other people touch that. Okay? Okay,
Mm-mm.
tita, ganun. But sometimes parang syempre yung ibang members din sa family, it's so awkward for them. So parang like cute terms yung ginagamit, mga ganun. But
Which is sad
um
din.
it's so sad, yeah. But I only try to understand them na lang
Mhm.
kasi that's
Mm-mm.
what they're used to. So sabi ko, isa-start ko na lang sa akin, 'di ba? Parang in my
Yes.
own
Mm-mm.
little
Yes.
way. So ayun, just do your own part and ayun.
Which is
Basta we're not let's not try to impose lang talaga kasi it could cause division.
yes, and that is what we are actually doing here in Youth Matters podcast. No, we
Yes.
are trying to tell them that if it can't start with anybody else, it can start with you. So, you
Yes.
mentioned that some
Yes.
parents may be, if some parents may be listening, so hindi na ya flower girl, code name hindi na ya flower girl, we suggest na you send this to your parent para we have parang parent listeners naman to
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
or
Yeah.
say
And
things.
also hindi na ya flower girl, just if 'di ba parang alam mo naman sa sarili mo na parang it's very problematic to use cute
Mm-mm.
terms to refer to the private organs, just start it with you. If kunwari meron ka ring pamangkin or kapatid or maybe anak in the future, just try to correct it. Yun lang.
Yes.
Okay, so that's answered na. We shall proceed with another one. And this is from, anong code name? What? Okay, natatawa ako sa mga code name. Pero anyway, they said, meron akong kaklase na sobrang inosente. Di ko alam kung bakit siya ganon. Pero every time we talk about mga stuff surrounding sex, lagi siyang nag-iiyo na para bang it's something disgusting. It is part of growing up. She will have to read about it sooner or later. So wala kami kabalo kung paano siya i-approach with this topic. Hindi man siya namon daan gusto nga mabiktima sang inappropriate nga mga situations. So the question is, how can they approach now the friend to talking about this?
Okay. Alam mo anong code name? I was I was like your classmate a few years back. Sobrang ganun ako. And sa circle namin, lagi ako yung parang, oh my gosh, kadiri ka, ba't mo ginagawa yan? Akala ko ba pag sex lang talaga? Bakit may parang may foreplay pa, mga ganon. And parang, I find it gross. Sabi ko, seryoso ba? Hindi ba dapat para dyan lang yan? Hindi ba dapat yung penis sa may vagina lang papasok? Wala nang, like parang sobrang nandididi ako before sa may idea of oral sex or whatsoever and the like. And ayun nga. Pero alam mo, what I can say is that just give them some time. Kasi like I did, gradually ko naman siya na process and gradually ko na accept na parang ganun talaga yung nature, 'di ba? Ng sex, ganun. And of course, once again, I have to I have to clarify din kasi diba parang I come from a conservative family and a very religious background. These I believe are are what I see towards other people. Hindi naman parang I'm trying to carry I'm trying to bring my people down, parang hindi naman ganun. So it's just a matter of being here in this world and learning how this world works. So just give them some time and eventually parang magiging open din siya about the topic and hindi na siya mandadire kasi time will come din naman talaga, 'di ba? Parang your friend will get married, 'di ba? So ayun. Pero don't leave her, okay? Still be there to educate her. Okay? Wag niyo siyang awayan kasi if inaway niyo siya, di lalong parang, 'di ba, parang
mas mag-shy away siya from the topic.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
and you'd fail to parang fulfill the goal nga.
Mm-mm.
Ayun lang.
So what Manang Jona is trying to say is take it slowly and let them take it small, like bite size lang. Kasi you don't eat the apple whole naman, 'di ba? You should take it slowly or like, little by little. So
Grabe,
yes,
I like
thank
the
you, Manang.
analogy.
Writer din po kasi ako in a way.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Manang Jona, for gracing us with your presence for this podcast. We really appreciate of your accepting our invitation.
Yeah,
We are
thank you
so
too
happy
for
to have you
inviting
here.
me. I'm happy too, and it's actually my first time to discuss about this topic openly in public. So parang thank you for this chance then to thank you for being an avenue where I can share my thoughts. Yeah.
Oo.
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much,
you.
Jona.
Thank you for supporting this cause. So
Yeah, good
again,
luck.
yes, thank you. So there you have it, everyone. This is Marilyn.
And I am Felix. This has been Youth Matters Podcast. Catch us in another episode where we'll be talking about a different topic.
But still in the name of youth empowerment. Okay. Manang, okay. Since this is a tradition of our podcast, can you say this line?
Okay.
Just in case nobody told you today, you matter.
Okay, subong na.
Yes, wow.
Okay. In case nobody told you today, you matter.
Wow, nakakakilig.
Hey, thank
Kuya,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.